So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can also find us on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Naturally, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see what's going on. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in and greet us here today. Helter has joined us, as well as Dragon. Puck is here. Johnny is here. Cyberjack Sr. Lucky is here. Glad you could make it today. I'm being joined by a single feline, little Miss Granny Smith, who is sitting on the floor in the corner right there. No other cats. Just Granny Smith at the moment. One is enough. That's okay. Brian has joined us as well. Glad you could make it today as we get ready to jump off into the world of the wacky and weird that we live in. Oh, by the way, they caught one more monkey. Just keeping track of what's going on in South Carolina. I think there are only 11, allegedly 11, that are left unaccounted for. So they've caught all but 11 of the monkeys that are still running around in the swamps. And Monkey has joined us. Johnny wants to know how Pirate is. Pirate, oh, she's a little ball of fluff. Pirate is a sweetheart. She's doing fine. She's doing fine. And she's getting to where when I come out, she wants to jump on me now. So, yeah, little Pirate is doing great. They all are. Everybody is adjusted well. And Wolf is still on the loose. Wolf is still on the loose. He has not been caught, although the TNR service still hasn't gotten back with me yet anyways. But that's okay. So we got one that didn't get neutered or vaccinated, but at least he's male. And Puck is, what did he say, a loaf of Granny Smith. No kidding. And Divine Order is here. Says shalom and blessings to Prepper University in the chat from Chicago. From Chicago. Ooh, we used to live in Kane County, Illinois, once upon a time. How is it cold enough out there yet? How's the weather doing? As we get ready to jump off here and take a look at the realm of the ridiculous that we live in. And we're going to start, since it came up yesterday, we're going to start with Oprah Winfrey. And we're going to pick apart her attempts to claim that, no, there was no money from the Harris campaign. Didn't happen. Newsweek article coming up. Oh, no, this isn't the Oprah. I said the wrong one. Excuse me. Newsweek article. We're going to start with the shaved heads. We'll save Oprah for a few minutes from now. And there's Gary Edwards joining us. Hey-o. Invoking images of Ed McMahon there. Hey-o. Johnny says, by the way, how do we know really it was only 43 monkeys? It could have been 68, 83, 114. How do we know they've been catching them? They haven't shown 31 photos of 31 different monkeys. If they had 31 photos of 31 different monkeys, would you be able to tell? And to be fair, Johnny's point there, that building houses 500. It houses 500, and their transfers from Monkey Island, where the bio-research facility houses 3,500 monkeys. So they got 3,500 on the island and 500 in the building. Or so we're told. Divine says it's warm, 50 degrees in the Chicago area. That's not too bad. We talked about this yesterday also, as well as Oprah. We'll get to Oprah in a minute. I opened the wrong one. But Newsweek article, women shaving their heads in Trump protests spark backlash from alopecia patients. Of all things, people just can't get along. But I wanted to talk about that real quick because we poked fun at it a little bit yesterday. It said some social media users have started to fight back. They're fighting back after women are shaving their heads to protest President-elect Trump's second administration. What started as a trend on TikTok for women to shave their heads in protest of the election results, which is absolutely stupid. Oh, I'm really upset that Trump won the presidency. Let me shave my head. I'm willing to bet a lot of those women don't shave their armpits or anything else, but yeah, let's shave our heads. Has become somewhat a more sensitive topic for others with alopecia and those who have had to shave their heads for diseases like cancer conditions where baldness is not always a choice. Can't please anybody. Who gives a damn if these women are shaving their heads? Who cares? They're shaving their heads in protest, and in addition to that, they are also claiming that they're going to abstain from sex for the next 4 years. So they're going to go taking a vow of celibacy for 4 years to protest Trump because he's anti-abortion. And that's kind of hypocritical because you're basically saying because you're so irresponsible that you're afraid you won't be able to have an abortion, you're going to abstain from sex. Maybe you should just abstain anyways then. Maybe you should abstain from sex if you're not going to use birth control in the first place instead of using birth control as a retroactive form or rather use abortion as a retroactive form of birth control. That's terribly irresponsible. It really is. I mean, that's something that should only be for emergencies, right? Or so you would think. But what do I know? So they want to shave their heads. And by the way, they're not just doing this in the United States. They're doing it in the UK and they're doing it in other places in Europe. We're going to shave our heads and we're going to abstain from sex. George Orwell, anyone? George Orwell, did you read or at least see the film 1984? Do you remember the Women's League from that story? The Women's League, they're stunning and brave. They're not going to have sex. They're abstaining from sex. They're avoiding men. Johnny says that's offensive to women who have cancer with a head with no hair. Puck wants to see an end to animal testing. Yeah, in this day and age, we don't need to do that sort of thing. Divine says 500 macaws in the building. Oh, wow, yes. That building, and I know the building. I've talked about it a few times because the story really caught my eye because it's close to where my mother-in-law used to live. She's adjacent to Yamasee, which is the city where that building is located. And I've seen the facility. It's a prison. It looks like a detention center. And I'm like, there's no way some guard forgot to shut a door and 43 monkeys escaped. Forget it. There's no way. There's redundancies in place. There's automatic closing doors. There's magnetic seals. Even the outside exercise area has redundancies of chain link fences. How many doors did this guy forget to lock? Because it says a guard forgot to lock doors. How many doors did you forget to lock? And if you're talking about a 3-inch thick steel door with a magnetic seal, a 7-pound monkey did not turn that lever and pull that door open. I don't believe it. There's way too much going on. Way too much. Gary says they're lining up to slap Chris Rock. Yeah, I know. She did not have alopecia, by the way. That was a lie. Dragon says insult to women who had to shave their head from cancer treatments. They should find another way to express their stupidity. Johnny says, how about instead of shaving heads, take a bath? There you go. Helter says, I didn't see any Republican women cry and cut their hair when Biden won. That's right. Divine says, now they'll all look weird shaving because of number 45. Let them shave their heads. Nobody cares. Also, a woman with a shaved head, it doesn't turn heads. This is not 1910, okay? You see women with their hair cut really short or even bald all the time. And some of them look good that way, actually. A woman can be attractive with their hair cut that short. So seriously, it doesn't make any sense. Johnny says they should have no problem abstaining from sex. They don't get any anyways. I'm going to abstain from swimming, even though I can't swim. Yeah. Divine says, I don't agree with using or deleting fetuses as birth control. However, all BC methods don't work. Yeah, birth control. But OC combined with condoms may help. Yeah, not all. Sometimes things don't work. Sometimes birth control does not do right. That is correct. But it's like the ultimate cop out. And I've talked about it before. I've mentioned it in the past that I knew somebody when I was still living in Boston that had 6. They had eliminated 6 pregnancies, and after the last one, and I can't remember the woman's name. I probably wouldn't say it on the thing anyways. I don't remember her name. It was a friend of my wife's, actually. Not my wife. I'm so sorry. A friend of my ex's. A friend of my ex's when I was living in Boston. That she was blubbering and in tears about it because something went wrong the last time, and they told her she wouldn't be able to have another kid. And it's like, you had 6. You had 6 and you eliminated them. Now you're crying because you might not ever be able to get pregnant again. Then why would you do that in the first place? Or why didn't you be more responsible in the first place? Brian says, remind me of when Drew Barrymore claimed she could go years without having sex in a news post. Absolutely. And there's Jane Spitfire. As we catch up here, there's Robert. He says Manson followers were all bald. Oh, and D-Lo has joined us. There you are. As we catch up, and then Fluke Man says WNEP ABC accidentally broadcasted the results random number generator 10 days before the election as test run to ensure actual election will run smoothly. Chairman and CEO donate money to Democrats. There you go. But that's what they're doing. They're shaving their heads. They're abstaining from sex in protest. Go ahead. Don't have sex. Go ahead and abstain. Shave your head. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Here's somebody else that nobody cares about. This I lost track of what I was talking about. And that is going to be Oprah Winfrey. And I think this is a USA Today article. USA Today article coming up from Oprah because she denies getting paid. Denies getting paid from the Harris campaign. But was she? Was she? There's a lot of questions here. It says Oprah Winfrey denies being paid $1 million as a personal fee for Kamala Harris's rally. Oprah Winfrey's patriotism doesn't come with a price tag. Yeah, because you can't pay her enough. That's USA Today pandering to Oprah Winfrey, by the way. Oprah Winfrey's patriotism doesn't come with a price tag. Put her on the pedestal, folks. The media mogul and former talk show host is addressing reports she was paid $1 million for her investment in Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Winfrey hosted a star-studded town hall event titled Unite for America Rally. Star-studded town hall event. It was not a tall town hall event because all the questions were predetermined as well as the answers. So there was no people being able to stand up and ask legitimate questions. That's not a town hall. Winfrey took to social media to set the record straight, commenting on an Instagram post that featured paparazzi footage of herself denying the report. The comments' authenticity was verified by Winfrey's publicist, Chelsea Hetrick. Usually, this is a quote, I am reluctant to respond to rumors in general, but these days I realize that if you don't stop a lie, it just gets bigger, Winfrey wrote. I was not paid a dime. My time and energy was my way of supporting the campaign. In a statement from Winfrey's production company, Harpo Productions, provided to USA Today, a spokesperson said Tuesday that Winfrey was at no point during the campaign paid a, wording is important here, pay close attention because I have somewhere I'm going with this, paid a personal fee, nor did she receive a fee from Harpo, adding that Harris campaign paid for the rally's production costs. Wording is key. Wording is everything. Winfrey says that she did not receive a, quote, personal fee, and that Harpo did not give her a personal fee. Okay? She was not given a personal fee, and Harpo was not giving her a personal fee. All right? And that's very, very important to understand, because there is evidence. There is evidence that from the FEC that Harpo was paid $1 million from the Harris campaign. So Oprah says Harris campaign did not give her personally money. Oprah says Harpo did not personally give her money, but the FTC has already verified that, yes, indeed, Harpo was paid by the Harris campaign 2 installments, $500,000 each. And since, you put the connections together, Oprah owns Harpo Productions. That's her studio. Since she owns them and their assets, $1 million paid to Harpo is $1 million paid to Oprah. Indirectly. Indirectly. See what I mean? Brian says, I think people have been programmed to think they need sexual stimulation to feel content. Talking about the previous article. Puck says they should be easy enough to prove by looking at campaign expenses for Harris. Yeah, and we got there. Dragon says Harpo Productions got the money. She forgot to mention that Harpo is Oprah's company. That's right. Gary says people who get suckered by Oprah are Harpo marks. Wah wah. Gary having a Mr. Peabody moment there. If you recall Mr. Peabody from Sherman and Peabody from Bullwinkle and Friends, Mr. Peabody would always close out with a really bad pun, which was a lot of fun for the show. Helter says plausible deniability. They paid her production company, not her, so she could claim it on their taxes, even if she ultimately took the money. There you go. Puck says, well, it depends on what is Oprah Winfrey, Harpo CEO. That's right. And Cougar is here, made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Cougar. How is Dusty? Dusty is fine. Everybody is fine. We have not had anybody sick for a while. We have not had any of our felines sick for a while. And there's Granny Smith. You're up. There's Granny Smith. I don't have access to anybody else right now, but Granny Smith is sitting in here staring at me. Come here, darling. Granny Smith. You gonna ignore me, honey? You don't feel like coming over here right now? That's all right, Granny Smith. You can just sit there and stare at me, darling. Anyways, Johnny says by abstaining, they're doing the world a favor. Don't make more of what you already are. Eric is here. He says, yes, she can be paid this $1 million via Harpo in other ways, not considered a fee, but other line items. That's right. And Laura says, you told Harpo to beat me. Jane loves the name Granny Smith. Yeah, that's my little Granny Smith. Granny Smith, the apple of my eye. Or Limpy. Limpy, you can see her favoring the one paw. Her right paw, she doesn't always put it all the way down. Her right elbow was broken, and it was broken for so long it did not heal correctly. So she walks with a permanent limp. She's not in any pain or anything, but she always favors the leg. Come here, baby. You don't want to come here? You don't want to? You just want to sit there and look crazy? That's all right. It's all right. That's all right. Johnny says, I missed the videos where you were taking a walk and talk in the woods and have a short chat. I had a bunch of those taken down by ScrewTube. I got in a lot of trouble for some of those. Plus, they don't let anybody see my regular videos anymore. It's gotten really weird, and I've been trying to get it up and going again, but you know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, with ScrewTube, they beat the hell out of you. They beat the hell out of you. Inspector says his dog broke his toe yesterday. Oh my. That's awful. I damn near break my neck every day with one of them because they get underfoot, especially Granny because she's so quiet, and I'm afraid I'm going to step on somebody and I end up stumbling, trying not to fall over. Fox News article as we move along here. Top Democrat officials worried tens of millions in Harris campaign debt could be their problem. And we talked about this yesterday, and I think the reason I pulled this up is because it verifies what I said about the FTC somewhere in this article. But again, just like we talked about yesterday, she spent over $1 billion. The Harris campaign spent over $1 billion on advertising, commercial and radio ads, billboards, whatever they could do, mailers, stuffing your mailbox with propaganda and garbage, hiring celebrities, doing stuff like Harpo Productions, to the point where they're actually in debt. And evidently it's more than the 20 million that's been suggested. And that is salaries mostly. Apparently did not pay people. So you managed to spend over $1 billion on advertising, you know, probably the most that's ever been spent on a presidential campaign, I think. I haven't verified that yet, but it looks like it. But at the same time, the people that you're supposed to pay that are on your team, you fell short with. And these are the people, this is the woman that was going to be president. Here it is, FEC filings, I said FTC. FEC filings show the Harris campaign made two $500,000 payments to Oprah Winfrey's production company, Harpo, on October 15th, a month after Winfrey appeared with Harris at the town hall event and weeks before Oprah was on stage with Harris at Philadelphia rally before Election Day. Yeah, there it is. Divine says that's a large amount of money for advertising. Yeah, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And there's Detective Dan, and he says the monkeys at the lab where he worked all had Ebola, so be careful. Yeah, I wouldn't trust any of those monkeys just because they claim that the monkeys had not been experimented on yet doesn't mean they weren't. We have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing. Spectre says he's a half bull mastiff and German shepherd. Big dog. Big dog. Gary says your voice is going robotic. Is it? Something with the audio? Something wrong with the audio? Let me close that out. Jane says, do you know there are thousands of illegal immigrants in U.S. jails all over? Do you think they'll send them back first to their home countries? It would be technically easier to send the ones that are in the detention centers and in jails because you already got them. But if you did that, all the ones that are running around loose will panic. So if I was doing it, I would keep them in the detention centers and the jails for the time being, and then round up as many as I can off the streets and push them out, and then empty the detention centers and the jails. That way, everybody doesn't scatter. You know what I mean? Now they say I sound better. Vulgar says, yep. They say I sound better. It must have been because of the page I had open. The page that I had open. As we jump to California here really quickly. And I don't know why the people in California are such gluttons for punishment, because they set themselves up again here. Tampa Free Press article, California approves a stricter fuel standard, raising their gas prices an additional 65 cents per gallon. California, you already pay the highest gas prices in the country. And now new regulations have been approved. Is anybody fighting this? Is anybody fighting this? The California Air Resource Board, or CARB, yeah, that's cute, has approved new regulations aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions from transportation fuels. These stricter standards are expected to lead to higher gas prices for California residents. The new regulations require gasoline, diesel, and other fuels to meet higher environmental standards. They also modify the credit system for lower carbon fuels. California is already known for having some of the highest gas prices in the nation. The new regulations are projected to further increase costs, potentially adding another 65 cents per gallon. You just can't, how does the old adage go? You can't win for losing. I don't know why anybody would want to stay in California anymore. I'm still having audio problems. People are telling me there that now the audio and video track are off. Audio and video. Jane says, I'm thinking strategically with moving of illegal jailed immigrants. Yeah, it all remains to be seen, because also it costs more to hold them there, so that it'd be more cost effective to empty them out. But yeah, I would hold them so other people don't panic right away. Try to round people up off the streets for a couple of months first, and then empty out the facilities. But that's up to whoever takes over. But back to California, that's incredible. I mean, they're already. What's the current gas prices in California? What are they currently paying? Let me see. Almost about roughly $5 a gallon. Hovering around $5 a gallon right now. That's nuts. And it's been higher in the past. You okay there? And there's cruising. He says only if they clear out all these fees. What fees? Oh, I missed something back here because the chat's moving quickly. He says, I'm looking forward to the tariffs and maybe a federal sales tax if the campaign promises are kept, but only if they clear out all these fees. I see what you're saying, cruising. Yeah, I mean, he was doing that before. He was imposing stricter tariffs, because if you have stricter tariffs against the countries that are moving product into the United States, A, it's more of an incentive to make things in the United States, and B, you can ease up on taxes in the United States because you're already getting the money from another source. So in the end, it does make it easier on the people that are already here. But yeah, California, the expense of living in California just doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't make any sense anymore. And I know I'm behind on the comments, but we'll just have to suck it up. There's too much going on. California is already too expensive. I mean, 65 cents, you may as well just say it's another $1. So they'll go from around $5 to around $6 a gallon standard. And I know it's been as high as $8 off and on over the last 4 years, right? I've seen like 795.9 tenths or something crazy. Dragon says more inflation and more taxes. We can give the credit to good old Governor Newsom. It's nuisance, Governor Nuisance. Divine says, wouldn't the tariffs fall back on the consumers? If prices on imported goods increase because of a higher charge from the outside source. So China sells a widget, for, classic example. China sells a widget for $1 to a company in the United States. If China gets taxed more through a tariff, they raise the price of the widget to $1.10. The company charges that extra 10 cents to the consumer. Or they buy the widget from an American company instead of having to pay the extra fee that the Chinese company is looking for. Odds are China won't add the extra 10% because they don't want you to purchase an American-made widget. So they're not likely to raise the price they're asking for to cover the additional tariff. Additionally, since money is coming from the tariffs, then they can ease up again on taxes on the people that are already in the country. So they don't have to charge, you don't have to charge as much. You could back off with how much taxes you're pulling out of people, which is too much already. And again, this is something that Trump was already starting to do. He was already doing it the last time around, and we didn't see massive increases in prices then. Johnny says, I have a YouTube troll. Oh, do I? Let me see as I catch up. D'Lo says, I hate gas prices here. Because, yeah, D'Lo is in California. It doesn't make any damn sense. Here's something else you won't have to worry about anymore. Government waste and misappropriated spending of funds taken from taxes is one of the biggest problems. If we can get the government to quit wasting so much money, then they won't need to ask for so much in taxes, because that's always their solution, to beg for more taxes, or quite frankly to just take them from you or convince you, rather than actually controlling their spending. And this is what's going on with you, Restream. Let's go with this Daily Caller article that's coming up. It says Biden-Harris Health Department spent tens of millions annually on DEI projects. And that's exactly what I'm right there. The government with your tax money. The Department of Health and Human Services spends tens of millions of dollars annually on diversity-related expenses, according to a new report from the watchdog group Open the Books. More and more of this is going to be revealed now that the current dynasty has been broken. And people don't want to get in trouble with the current administration, so they're all rolling over on this stuff. American taxpayers foot a bill of roughly $38.7 million every year to employ 297 staffers conducting diversity, equity, and inclusion work at the Human Health Services, with 247 of those federal employees making over $100,000 a year, according to government records analyzed by Open the Books. On top of that, HHS spends $29.4 million per year to keep 209 workers on payroll for its offices of minority health. What the hell does that mean? Which exists to improve the health of racial and ethnic minority populations through the development of health policies and programs that will help eliminate health disparities. Really? So you have 209 employees that are paid $29.4 million a year, so over $100,000 each, to work in the Office of Minority Health, and their job is to, I don't know, create red tape that pretends to help people who are technically minorities. It says improve the health of racial and ethnic minority populations through the development of health policies and programs. Here, I wrote up this paper. I got paid $100,000 a year to do it. And writing this piece of paper and putting it in our books is going to help minorities be healthier. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let me see. I know I'm way behind here on the comments. Semper says they've been at least 10 huge solar farms installed here in my area in Buffalo in the last 2 years. It all goes down to state. It all goes down state while our electric bill has gone up a lot the last 2 years. It'll keep going up because those solar farms are worthless. And I'm sure, Semper, I'm sure you've seen the video that I did talking about energy production in the United States. And I used the Department of Energy's own website to track that. And there's something close to, what, 2,000 solar farms in the United States now producing less than 2% of the grid. Meanwhile, 80 nuclear plants produce 20% of the grid. Let that sink in. It's a total waste. It's a total waste. Dragon says DEI is not only ruining real life, but also entertainment like movies, games, etc. DEI has been proven to be cancerous time and time again. And Puck doesn't agree with solar farms. Yeah, I did a whole extensive video on it, demonstrating from the government's own web pages how many of each type of energy production there is in the United States, where they're located, and how much each system adds to the existing grid. And solar and wind power is at the bottom of that list. And they have the most plants. But I mean, wind is like 1% or something. It's pathetic. Semper says the biggest one they've seen is almost 50 acres. Let me close this out because I know there's something. Laura likes hobo. He says Orange Kitty hobo making the porch great again. So there we go. Puck wants to know if illegals get gas cards. I'm not sure about that. I know in New York they were getting debit cards, but now they want to cancel that program out of the clear blue sky. But those DEI programs, and that's just the health department. That's just the health department. There are dozens of these programs all through the United States in various forms of government and in our public school systems, where billions of dollars are getting poured in. It doesn't need to be happening. That should not be happening. Your tax dollars should not be invested that way. And I've said it a million times, they probably could operate on half of what they take in taxes if they spent the money right. If they spent the money right. Speaking of wasting money, while we're on the subject, Daily Caller again. There's your buddy, Anthony Fauci. Would you like to know how much of your tax money is spent on his security detail? Fauci received $15 million in taxpayer funds for private security. Dr. Anthony Fauci was granted $15 million in taxpayer-funded security as a private citizen, according to the new reports. An agreement between the U.S. Marshal Service and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services provided Fauci protection from January 4th, 2023 to September 20th, 2024, according to FOIA documents obtained by independent journalist Jordan Schnattnell, if I pronounce that correctly. The USMS, that's the Marshal Service, which operates under the U.S. Department of Justice, told the Daily Caller they provided a protective detail for Anthony Fauci from January 2023 to August 2024, a month less than indicated by Schnattnell's report. The caller also reached out to HHS, but has not heard back, I bet. The agreement was discovered in a memorandum of understanding between the agencies. $15 million does not include the additional expenses related to Fauci's private security from April 20 to December 2022, according to the report. The millions of dollars cover, in part, transportation costs, equipment for law enforcement, and salaries and benefits for Fauci's security personnel. The contract could be renewed or extended in the future, according to the agreement. The report says it's unclear how unprecedented the agreement is, but notes it could find no other cases of a former federal employee receiving this level of protection. So they only have records for the last year or so. However, he's been getting this since April of 2020. Roughly $15 million a year in private security to protect Fauci. Does that make any sense to anybody? Does that make any sense to anybody? Semper Fi says DEI means didn't earn it. There you go. Flukeman says if Harris won the election, her plan to solve the lack of wind for wind farms is to build giant fans for each of the windmill. There you go, Flukeman. Jane says in Arizona, they helped immigrants to get cars and gave quick methods in learning how to drive. Wow. Vulgar says they're too busy stealing our money. Puck says the rat Fauci might be facing charges soon enough, but it won't make a difference, Puck. That's the problem. Fauci is a scapegoat. Fauci is going to be the fall guy. If anything blows up about the whole C virus pandemic, Fauci's the designated fall guy. Everybody's going to point at him and they're going to say one guy. You know, the whole one shooter thing. It's always one person. One guy did this. One guard forgot to lock doors and let the monkeys out. You see what I'm saying? It's always one person. Fauci is the one guy that is going to take the fall for the 500 other people pulling strings. And if he does talk, he's going to get Epsteined. Suddenly he'll decide that he doesn't want to live. Gary says Haitian immigrants in Springfield get thousands on the EBT cards. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Sven says in Tony's defense, he did F up a lot of people's lives. Even evil assholes need to feel safe. It's interesting to me that the government would even think he needed that heavy of a security detail. Johnny says, nice to be a private citizen and have that kind of security every day. Puck says, protect him from who? I know it. I know it. That's a lot of money. That's your tax dollars. Vulgar says Fauci should go to prison and Soros. And Puck says, I don't know. I don't think he'll be the only one. They'll blame him. They'll blame him. He's the one that's going to get the finger. And if he acts up, well, I'll talk. I'll point out everybody. Suddenly the cameras won't be working in his cell block for 15 minutes, like what happened to Epstein. Flukeman says, I'm sure he'll be happily compensated for being the fall guy. He already has been. I mean, God, 15 million just for his security must be nice. Must be nice. He's the Shaw of Brunei here. Doesn't make any sense. On a lighter note, everybody's famous or favorite talk show host. Everybody's favorite talk show host. Not really. I'm being sarcastic. Very sarcastic here. Whoopi Goldberg. And no, that's not her real name. She hasn't looked that good in 20 years. Whoopi Goldberg. And this is an Afrotech article. So you know they'll be pandering. Whoopi Goldberg announces the launch of a global sports platform for women. Whoopi Goldberg is launching a sports platform. During a taping of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, she announced the launch of an all-women's sports network, which has already broken ground in Asia, the Middle East, and India with the help of partners Common Spirit and Jungo TV. Boy, that sounds like a money pit. It'll be the home for live women's sports from around the world. Everything from soccer, basketball, tennis, cricket, curling, you name it. If a woman is playing it, we're showing it, Goldberg told the show. Oh my God. Goldberg claims that the motivation for the network was planned when she was a child. She recalls a time when her brother would play a variety of sports, but she was often left out due to her gender. Throughout her career, she recalls engaging in conversations about how to move the needle in women's sports. You can't move the needle in women's sports because men and women are built differently. Men's sports are much more aggressive, which is why people prefer to watch it. People are not that interested in watching women's sports. So you want to start a network, or there's already a network. It's probably on some crappy cable in India, because they mentioned India there. They're probably losing their shirts and can't get advertisers, unless everybody's running around in bikinis. Divine says South American and Venezuelan illegal economic immigrants receive $3,000 in food stamps, or plus double for housing in Chicago. Wow. Puck says Whoopi looks like Abe Simpson. Semper says that sounds good because the WNBA is doing so well. I bet it folds in a year. And Gary says no Transylvanians. I have no idea. I don't know. Sven says the WNBA is shit except for that new chick the other players hate. And they hate her because she does so well. Lou says I like the younger Whoopi and Sister Act and not the crazy angry Whoopi. Yeah, something happened to her. She lost her marbles. But yeah, I can see that right here especially. You could see that she does look like Abe from The Simpsons. Grandpa. Angry old man yells at clouds. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to fly. If people were interested in women's sports, it's out there already. They would watch it or they would go and see it. Most people are not interested in women in sports for the most part, unless it's like professional wrestling, something like that. Unbelievable. So yeah, let her launch her platform. I guess this is her attempt to get ahead of The View going off the air, which could happen. I can't imagine that their ratings are that great. Every time I hear anything about The View, their ratings are in the toilet. Although I bet the day after Trump won the election was probably the highest their ratings have ever been, because everybody wanted to see them melt down because everybody hates them. Not everybody. There are people who do like them, who do believe what they see. Brian says, oh, so Whoopi is still here after Trump won in 2016. Yeah, I know. He didn't leave, or she didn't leave. None of them did. Nobody who said they were going to leave the country if he won last time left. And they're not going to leave this time either. It's all talk. It's all talk. It's all for show. It's all for show. Gary thinks that Caitlin Clark went to Europe, or so they hear. So, well, who's heard from her in such a long time? As we move around here, we're going to talk about somebody else's favorite female. And again, I'm being sarcastic. AOC, anybody? AOC, making sense, but also being a hypocrite. Daily Caller again, Representative Ocasio-Cortez takes aim at the Democratic Party for running fake candidates. Even broken clocks are right twice a day, and even Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is right sometimes. Ooh, biting. The New York Congresswoman who got elected again, I swear, posted several videos Monday night on her Instagram addressing the outcome of the 2024 election, a shellacking for Democrats, and what appears to be a shot aimed at her own party. She argued that Americans are fed up with fake politicians and that a candidate pretending to support left-wing ideology only to backtrack is worse than a candidate who forthright on their views about, say, transmogrified sex change. A lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians, she begins. Quote, "What I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. If during the entire time of the campaign season you're saying that you're down with trans people or the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong, I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something. If you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were?" Which is true. Which is true. And she's calling them out for being phonies, which we just suffered a really bad one, and that was the Harris campaign. Harris and Walz, total phonies. Putting on a flannel shirt and a camouflage hat does not make Tampon Tim an outdoorsman. The man's man that the media said he was, and that was a quote. You remember the article from a couple of months back. The man's man that's going to reach the MAGA. Yeah, sure. The man's man who can't load a shotgun, but was a soldier, an outdoorsman, and a hunter. They're frauds. They're complete frauds. And she's right, but she's also a hypocrite because she's a fraud too. She's another one of these phonies, just like Bernie Sanders, who's been throwing all of the Democrats under the bus. Although Bernie claims to be independent, he's very closely tied with Democrats. We all know this. But he's been throwing them under the bus really aggressively the last few days. But he's a hypocrite too, because he lives the lifestyle he accuses them of, and so does she. Yeah, people are sick of phonies. People are sick of phonies. We're surrounded by them. We're knee deep in them. Harris was a phony. Walz was a phony, but so is AOC. She's telling the truth, but she needs to look in the mirror. Semper says, as a bartender, I bet AOC makes a mean grasshopper. Does she? Johnny says, boy, everyone on the left is throwing each other under the bus. That's what happened when the left loses. Yeah, there's no support. No support. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Need all of the help I can get. Johnny says, so was Kamala Harris a fake politician on November 4th? Just to ask him. No, because AOC was behind her 100% up until she lost. Up until she lost. Then all of a sudden, just like Bernie Sanders, they want to start throwing knives. Because that's how they are. They eat their own. Puck says Bernie is a fraud. I know, Bernie's a fraud. Bernie's been a fraud. Bernie's so far out of touch, it's scary. It's freaking scary. But there you go. I mean, yeah. Is she telling the truth? Absolutely. People are sick and tired of phonies. We're surrounded by them. We live in a culture of lies. I should do a whole video on the subject. We're mired in a culture of dishonesty and lies that demands transparency. Oh, we want transparency. We want the truth. We want honesty. But I'm going to lie about everything I tell you. We're lied to by everybody. We're lied to by politicians. We're lied to by the people that we're expected to trust the most, that in many cases demand our trust. Doctors, scientists, politicians, law enforcement, the Justice Department, the media, educators, that demand that we show them respect. And I could go on and on. I should do a whole separate video on the subject for Coffee Talk, actually. Our parents. A lot of us don't have good parents. I don't. I didn't. I had a really bad experience growing up. Some people have good, honest, wholesome parents. A lot don't. And they're dishonest. Jane says, I agree, lots of phonies. Is she right for calling out that that's why people got fed up? Again, whether you like Trump or hate him, at least when you look at him, you get what you see. He's not making anything up. He's been like that for decades. You could see it clearly. Harris was full of shit. A complete phony. What's Trump going to do in office? He's going to do what he did last time. That's what he's going to do. Cruising says that AOC can be a representative is an inspiration to all of us, that anyone who can string together two sentences and is mildly attractive can also get voted into government to waste our taxes. And then Semper explains how she got the job, possibly. I can't confirm that. I can neither confirm nor deny how AOC keeps getting elected or how she got elected in the first place. She's a stoolie. She's a stooge. Sven says Democrats are all on the take. Gross bigots like Mitch. Fluke says it's always someone else's fault. There's never responsibility for your own actions. Johnny says they're not fake when they say, let me be perfectly clear. Yeah, I know. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, they think they're Jesus from the Bible, Yeshua. I tell you the truth. Yeah. Vulgar says the average person can't handle the truth. No, they're comforted by that dishonesty. They're so accustomed to it, they don't know what else to do. They're so accustomed to it, they don't know what else to do. You tell them the truth, they can't handle it. But at the same time, they hate being lied to. There she goes. There's Granny Smith. You see how she keeps the one paw up? Let me get in there. See how she keeps the one paw off the floor? She tries to. Brian wants to know if my mother is still alive. So far as I know, because I probably would have heard through my sister, who would have heard it through our aunt, if something happened to her. Because both of us are out of contact with her. Tuck says it's true. Spend 20 minutes examining the ties between developers and Democrats in my area. Definitely on the take. Definitely on the take. Right, Granny Smith? You sat there the whole time staring at me. She must want me to do something. She can't exactly tell me what it is. Come here. Come here, little girl. Come here. It's okay. There we go. Granny Smith, everybody. Hello, darling. Want to come and keep me company as I get ready to wind up, because we are getting close to the end. Because everybody is listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and they can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. They can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. They can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Special thanks to Cougar and to Brian, who made donations to the channel today. Very much appreciated. Goes a long way towards helping our felines, right? Isn't that right, Granny Smith? That's how come you're so chubby. It's because of donations. Thank you, everyone else who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we